Your life, your wahala, your breakthrough, idea. Welcome to the chat room.
This no be ordinary place. Now a solution they show face. LadyMary they lead the way. With guests we go blow your brain. Talk your matter make we solve 'em. No judgment, just love and wisdom. We they discuss, we they learn. Every episode you go feel the burn. Oh, the chat room. Now here we they find a way. Oh, the chat room.
Oh yes.
We go talk and clear, no delay.
No delay.
Oh, it's interactive, educative, informative, and unapologetic. Oh, the chat room. We unstoppable, no be lie.
You.
Hey, the chat room. Hey, now here we define the way. We the chat room. We go talk and clear, no delay. No delay. It's interactive, educative, informative, and unapologetic. Oh, the chat room. We unstoppable, no be lie.
All right, family. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning to you all, depending on what time it may be at your end. We apologize for the delay, but apparently there's something called technology, and that's what happened to us today. There's something called technology with technical difficulties, and that's what happened to us today. So we apologize to everyone that may have been waiting on the chat room to air and we're not showing up. We apologize. Okay, so my name is LadyMary Boadu, your host for the chat room, a platform dedicated to resolving daily life's issue. Over here, we don't argue, we don't fight, we don't insult. We talk about things that would benefit you and your family, our communities at large. We educate, and it's our hope that we'll bring transformation to you and yours today, as we've been doing months and months back. I actually forgot to mention, I think I got notification the other day. Then I realized that the chat room has actually been airing for 6 years, since January this year. So yeah.
Oh, wow.
I was like, wow, so soon. But I'm so glad that we are still standing and we have all of you listeners and amazing guests, and then my co-host that keeps coming back. It's a pleasure. Thank you. We can't thank you all enough. I met a lady over the weekend and she pulled me to the side. Oh, Clara, thank you for finding your way here. I was hoping we can finally come live so I can share the link with you, but thank you. She pulled me to the side and she said, hey, I didn't know you host a show on social media. I said, yes, I do. She said, I actually sat and I watched your entire show from last week and I love it. I'm so glad to know that you're doing this, so I will be tuning in. And I thought, okay, she said it was really educative and I like that. So, well, I'm glad at least that's good to hear, right? So without wasting much time, Nanaya, please introduce yourself and let the Honorable Doctor come in. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Once again, sorry for our delay today. We are thankful and grateful that you're here, and happy Easter, happy Resurrection Sunday for all those who are celebrating. My name is Nanaya Sarpong. I am a mother, a wife, an entrepreneur. I'm a financial manager by profession, and I am your co-host. Thank you for being here once again. Dr. James?
Hi, happy Easter. My name is James. I work as a doctor. I'm a regular guy. Regular guy, doctor, entrepreneur. Thank you. That's it.
Regular guy, you said.
Yeah. So I am first a regular guy before the things I do.
That's right.
Okay, thank you all once again. Nana, please take over. I'm sending, or I could still, if you want me to, I can go on. I just want to send out the links. Please, I'm
That's okay.
sending out the links, guys. Nana, so take over for me, please.
Okay, so this month, the month of April, is the month where we recognize autism. So we wanted to have our topics for this month about autism, just trying to understand what it's about, trying to find ways that we can be better prepared to help with those who are experienced or those who has that type of mental. I don't know if it's. I guess that's why we have Dr. James here, so he can educate us if it's a mental disorder, if it's just a personality, whatever it may be. We're here to educate, so we all have a better understanding. So when we encounter members, or when we encounter people with autism, we know how to handle them, we know how to treat them, we know how to, help them to become better citizens, and just to, not be offensive, but be able to treat them as part of the community. So that's what this month is about, just educating and learning about what autism is all about, and then understanding it. So we thank Dr. James for always answering our call. So he's here as the one to kind of open things up, start things up for us. And so I will throw it back to Dr. James, so he can start us
Okay,
off.
thank you. So, autism, this is a very interesting conversation. And I say conversation because I like to think that it's a chat room, right? So we're just going to have a quick conversation about autism. And then we'll have a question and answer session at the end, so you can throw in all your questions, right? So basically, I'd like us to think about it this way, right? We start off by saying that the whole goal of this chat is so that we can understand people, but not to fix them, right? Because people are not all the same. Just as you can see physically, some people are taller than some others, some people are leaner and thinner than some others. It doesn't necessarily mean that a particular body type is the best or a particular body type is optimum. In the same way, people's brains are wired differently. And so there's a big thing of neurodiversity, which is basically just like we have cultural diversity, it's the different ways in which different people's minds work, right? So I want us all, especially the parents, to think about it this way. What if your child doesn't have a problem, but the child is just wired differently? Okay, so it's not a problem, it's just a different way of doing things. So the first question becomes, what is autism, to start off with? So what is autism, to start off with? And in a very simple way, it's just a different way in which the brain develops. So there are different types of things. Some people have communication problems, some people have problems with social interaction, some other people have sensory problems. Autism is not a disease, it's not something to fix, it's just a condition, right? And it's a spectrum. So there are a lot of people on different scales of the spectrum. Some people are even non-verbal, which means they cannot speak at all. Some people are non-audible, so they can't hear. And then you have some people who just have a very mild hyperfocus times or hyperactivity times. And so it's a bit unfair that we put all autistic people in one basket, right? And previously, we used to think that what's wrong with this person or what's wrong with this child, right? But then now I want you to actually think about it this way, that how is this child different? Okay. How is this person different from every other person? And I believe that once we start thinking about it along those lines, it makes it much more easier for us to understand people. And so, And so there's a this one. Knee. Knee. Pastor. Yeah. And so a child can be struggling with speech, as we already said. Another child would also like probably speak a bit later on, much later than other children speak. Another child may be very sensitive to noise or to light or sound, but then it just makes every child unique in their own way. Okay. Now, there's this part which we usually don't look forward to. So I want you to just think of it this way: that if the light feels too bright for you, right, or the sound feels too loud, or people are just so unpredictable, or you find it difficult to express your words or your emotions, right? See, sometimes you can be frustrated, but then these are actually the daily struggles of people who have autism. And so, in most cases, instead of us saying that the person is naughty or the person is bad or the person is broken, it's rather we could ask what is causing this, what is causing the overstimulation, what is overwhelming him or her. All right. Autism can actually be a strength instead of we looking at this as a defect. And I'm going to give you some classical examples. I mean, the examples I may give will not necessarily be in autism, but then I.
Oh no, you're fine. I'm gonna read it later. It's just a comment, but go ahead.
Okay. Yeah. So there are so many things that you find commonly in a lot of autistic children, right? So some autistic children have like an intense focusing ability. So it's like when something gets into their head, you can't get it out. So they start thinking about anything at all. They start thinking about this pencil, and that's all they think about for the next 6 hours. It's just this pencil they think about. They can't think about anything else. Some kids may notice some details about some things that other people would miss. Some kids are too direct that they don't have any filters. They don't know when to shut up and when to speak. And some kids actually have a very fantastic memory, like it's too good that it can be negative. And then some kids actually think differently, which is very good for innovation, right? These things are strengths and not necessarily flaws, as you can think about. And I'm pretty sure that if you think of yourself as a kid, or when I was a kid, there were a lot of kids who were hyperactive. Let me put it that way. There were some kids who had a lot of energy, right? And then in today's world, it's very common that these kids are labeled, or we start trying to fix these kids. But then that's not the right thing to do, because once we find out how best to express their energies, then they can actually express their energies into doing something more productive, which is beneficial to they themselves, the society, and everyone else, right? So there are some kids who have a very intense focus span, that they can just be focused for, say, 8 straight hours without being distracted. And those kids tend to be very good computer programmers and do very well in things which require intense focus, right? There are some other kids who cannot sit down at all. They always want to interact with other people. These kids, in the long run, can do very well in situations which has to involve human relations, like HR and stuff like that. And so it's very important for the parents and for the teachers in the environment to actually learn to point out the things which the kids have as their strengths, or the things which we find to be very repetitive in their children's lives, and then we can channel that energy into something else. There are actually very, very successful people who are believed to be very neurodivergent. Number one is Einstein. See, Albert Einstein didn't speak until he was 6. He spoke at the age of 6. He walked very late, and he was a creep socially. He didn't have very good social interactions with people, but he's one of the greatest minds to ever live. Same with Nikola Tesla, and one who lives amongst us now, Elon Musk. Musk has Asperger's syndrome. He's autistic to some extent, and even when you look at his interviews and stuff like that, there are times you see that he's blanked out. Right? He's there, but he's not there. It's like he's in his own world, but that's his strength. That's what brings out the innovations and stuff like that. That he has brought about. And one of the biggest mistakes, especially for parents, is that usually we try to force the child to fit in a particular box. But no child is made to be the same as another child. There's this thing which says that if you want to judge the intelligence of animals by their ability to climb a tree, the fish will always feel stupid. So the fish is very good at swimming, but then the fish can never climb a tree. In the same way, the monkey is very good at climbing trees, but the monkey cannot swim at all. So some children are good at one thing, some other children are good at the other thing. And it's actually a wrong notion that all kids have to be able to fit in a particular box. The normal school system now, rewards the ability for children to memorize things. Okay. Some children may be good at memorizing things, other children are not. Other children may not be good at memorizing things, and that doesn't make them less less intelligent or less smart. It's just that they probably are better off doing something else. They are better off riding bicycles, or they are better off swimming. And so I think it's really important, especially for parents, to try to be understanding with their children, to be patient, to structure things and be routine with children, create a safe environment, and to accept children. Sometimes we think that we have to correct children by telling them what to do. But in as much as we want to correct them, it's also important for us to take the time to think and process and see why they're doing what they're doing. And if we get to understand a little bit about why they're doing what they're doing, then we may be able to deal with them better. And in most cases, we would get to realize that if you give child the time to respond, they do better. If we use simple, clear language to speak to children, they do much better. And there are times where you have the meltdowns with children, right, where they have the whole meltdown thing. And if there's a difficult moment, sometimes we try to control it with force by just saying, stop that, go and stay in the wall and stuff like that. It works for some children, but it doesn't work for all children. Because there are some children, the more you say that, the more they rebel. And so it has actually been proven that there are some times where when a child is flaring up, you just leave them. You just give them the space. You don't also flare up with them. And then they come around. But then when you try to kind of ground them and force them to do what you want them to do, then they don't come around. Okay. There's this thing that if you have a child which has autism, people say that the child goes through a lot, but the parent also suffers sometimes even much more than the child, because the parent carries the burden of all of everything which is happening. And some of the parents actually ask themselves, why isn't my child like the other children? Oh God, why me? And stuff like that. In as much as I can understand where that question is coming from, I think the better question is rather, what makes my child unique? What makes my child different from other children, And then that actually makes it much better to deal with, okay? So the bottom line is that every child is different, and not every difference is a problem. Some differences are actually strengths. And I'm lucky to have my sister here. And, she would tell you that when we were growing up, we were very different. I have two sisters, and all three of us were very, very different children. My older sister was entirely different. My younger sister was entirely different. I was also entirely different. We all grew up to be very different individuals. I mean, you still see those childhood traits that we all had in us, but then we've become very different individuals, you know. And children do not need to be changed, but then children need to be understood and be loved. And once we try to understand children so much, we get to understand the conditions that they're going through, and it makes our lives easier. Because if we understand what someone is going through, we don't get frustrated as much as we would if we don't understand what they are going through. So I will open it up for questions.
You know, it's interesting, Nanaya, if you realize how soft-spoken he is with this whole thing, right? But it's really sinking in with what you even just ended with, that children do not need to be understood, right?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Nanaya, do you have comments? Because I'm just sitting here, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm guilty, you know.
Yeah, it's a learning experience, because okay, so first of all, because I want to be correct, and that's why we're here. I haven't had the opportunity to directly deal with one-on-one deal with a lot of kids who are autistic, right? So just to be proper and to be correct, can we say that, is it a mental, I don't really feel good saying disorder, but I don't know how to like put it. So would you say it's a condition? Is it a mental condition? What would you say it is specifically? And how
Right.
should we address it?
So that's a very good question. It's not a mental condition, because a mental condition. We have things which are classified as mental conditions, psychological conditions, psychiatric conditions. Autism does not fall under any of them. Autism actually
Okay.
falls under developmental. It's a developmental disorder, right? So
Okay.
it's a problem of development.
Okay.
The development of the brain. There are some people whose brains develop in such a way that, so there are some chemicals in the brain which actually sort a lot of things out. There are some which keeps the brain awake. There are some which helps the brain to sleep. There are some which keeps the brain chilled. There are some which helps you to respond to threats. And then there are some people who have the quantities of these things in a disproportional way, right? So if they have the parts which keeps the brain awake much more than the one which keeps the brain calmer, then they are a bit hyperactive than they should be, right? Which can actually also become a superpower rather than a weakness. So, because the thing is the same traits that can make a child seem different in school or amongst his friends could also be the exact same thing that can help him to change the world.
Yeah.
You know, I was a very active kid, very, very active. And how do you say it in English? I had a lot of energy, right?
Isn't that what they call hyper? Like the child is
Yes,
hyper?
no,
Not ADHD.
I was a
it's
Not
hyper
on
kid.
that level. Not on that level yet. Okay.
Not exactly.
Middle ground.
I was a hyper kid. I was a very, very hyperactive kid. And even now, I'm a very hyperactive guy. But then I think over time, I've learned how to be calm, like now. Like I am calm when I have to be calm. And then
You
I am hyper when
you
I have to
sound
be
calm
hyper.
right now. Very calm.
Oh, yeah. Wait until you see me in the ER. I'm not calm in the ER.
That's where you exert all your energy.
Yes, exactly. So it's like over time I've learned that when you walk in the morning and you have to put in that hyper focus and energy, that is when you put it in. So when you have that stretch of time where you have to be hyper and hyper focused, then you
Hyperactive kid.
then you do that. But then when you have to switch off from being a hyperactive kid, then you switch off and you become a chilled kid. That is something that sometimes you can be helped by other people to achieve. That is something that people can, help you to learn about yourself. And that is something that you can get from people. I mean, I used to go and play and I would never come home. I would play. I would play until everyone leaves. Then I'll go home. I had so much energy, you know. But that happened to be part of my strength. My sister used to always play football and volleyball with the boys. She would not play like the regular girl. She was always playing about with the boys, and she was like a tomboy. But then we channeled that energy for her to become an athlete. She wasn't a very successful athlete, but at least we found an outlet for her energy. you know. So yeah, it's not a mental disorder. No, it's not a mental disorder at all. It's just think about the shoes, right? Some people wear size 6, some people wear size 7, some people wear size 10. There's no specific good shoe size. It's based on your body.
Yeah.
So different minds also operates differently based on the person. Yeah.
Okay. So what about those on the um and again, I don't really know much about it, so I
Do you
don't want
mean
to.
on the spectrum?
Yeah, those on the spectrum, but I'm trying to see if it will be high on the spectrum or low on the spectrum. I guess we can say
So
high on the spectrum, who can't really who needs like assistant with just daily living type of
yeah.
stuff. And even those who are like nonverbal, you know, those ones.
So that's an extreme. Those are the extreme people on the spectrum, right? And I'll,
Mm-hmm.
I'll 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 come to that. But I want us to all think about it this way. Have you ever woken up one day and felt down? Like you wake up today and you're just down. You're not as
Mm-hmm.
happy as you should be. Okay.
Yeah.
And then have you woken up one day and you're just happy, like, oh, everything is nice. Yeah. So you're the same person. You wake up one day, you feel a bit down.
Mm-hmm.
You wake up another
Yeah.
day, you're a bit, the opposite. On the day that you feel down, we don't go ahead to diagnose you as being depressed. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's just
Mm-hmm.
one off. And that's normal. That's how the human body works. Another day you wake up and you're happy. We don't go and say this woman is a maniac. It's just a
Yeah.
one off. However, if it becomes a constant thing over a period of time, that every day you are down, only you're down every day, or you are hyper every day, or you alternate and stuff like that, then we would be getting to the bottom of diagnosing you with a condition. So what I'm trying to say is that you have a lot of chemicals in your brain which keeps firing, right? So for example, if you're walking and you sense some danger, there should be that you should have the possibility to just go into flight mode immediately and run away. If that doesn't happen,
Yeah.
something is wrong with your brain. Okay. However, if that happens in excess and you're always scared, there's also a problem. Okay. And if that doesn't happen at all, there's also a problem because then you're going to be run over by a car and you're not going to have the sense of urgency. And so the whole thing is think about that the titration of the chemicals is what changes them. And that's what brings the spectrum. So some people have a tiny little bit of maybe being slow to respond, right? And some people also have a problem of not being able to respond at all or not being able to speak at all. Autism is still a new topic which is still being researched extensively. So there are not a lot of answers for it at the moment. But what we know so far is that it's a spectrum. Some people have just very mild autism, and then some people unfortunately have extreme autism, which you have kids who can't even walk. and are nonverbal. And so yeah.
You know, I have a for those of us that are from Africa, right? There's been many times. I'm sorry, Nana. I'm not sure if you had a question, but there's
No,
been
go
many
ahead.
times where, growing up, we saw
Mhm.
people that had children with disability, and these people were tagged as insuba and those kind of things, right? There were those that would not take their children even out to come and sit out in their compounds or outside of their homes because they, these kids were tagged. So can we also clarify that there's no such thing? And I know that, yes, those of us who believe in spiritual things, yes, it's there. But can we clarify that parents should look, if a parent or if an individual have a child with that condition, they should focus more on the medical aspect rather than the spiritual aspect? Because, I don't think most of us, I stand to be corrected. Growing up, I don't remember ever seeing where doctors were literally coming into people's home, because I knew a lady that was like literally next door to us. I never saw a doctor, or I never saw them taking the child to any place for care. Versus like here, if your child has autism or any form of disability, they get all the different type of appointments, to see the different type of specialists. I don't think it's like that in Africa where we are from. So I'm asking this question for the same African people, the same people that live in Africa, the same people that are living here. And so can we clarify that so that as an African or whatever it is, if you ever lived with the mindset of your child being disabled is insuba, or you've been cursed and all that, that's not the case. But we should rather focus on seeking for medical help, because I know people that are in America here that their children are dealing with autism, but they are praying away the autism and not seeking for any help. So that is the reason why I'm asking that. Can we clarify that, Doc?
Um, yeah, so that's a tough one. Um, Children need help, especially children who have some developmental problems.
Mhm.
The source of the problem or the cause of the problem is not very well understood by medicine, right?
Mhm.
So, if I tell you that the cause is from A or from B, I may be misleading you. But what I can tell you is what we understand, and that is that there is help for these kids, and
Yeah.
these kids can be guided. There are also a lot of kids who develop physical medical problems because of some developmental issues, not just with autism, but with other conditions as well. And these things needs to be sorted out. These things need to be treated. And so it's important. I mean, look, I really believe in prayer, right? God does a lot of things, but God is also the same one who gave us the grace to be doctors. God is the same one who blessed our hands to be able to operate. God is the same one who gave us the ability to study the human body and understand it. And so God works through us a lot. God works through doctors a lot. And so you going to a doctor doesn't necessarily mean that you don't have faith or anything, because in the Bible, um, there was Luke. Luke was a physician, and a lot of sick people would be sent to Luke to receive healing. And so, yes, there is the role of the doctors, that every kid needs to be seen by the pediatrician, by the doctors, and that the kid will be sorted. Because a lot of things can actually be treated at a very early stage. But then if we leave it to become too late, then it becomes problematic, because some children with developmental problems, once we see it very early, we can actually give them some support and some help, which helps them to grow much better. But then without the support and the help, it becomes much more difficult to sort them out. So it's important that we get that.
Let me ask this.
Mhm.
I recently heard a story of a young man, I think he's in the States, where he is 19 or older, and he's now experiencing or exhibiting signs of autism. And how is that possible? Because I thought these things can only be identified, from
So he
infancy.
never experienced, he never exhibited anything when
Just
he
said
was
he was
growing
a
up.
normal kid.
He was a normal kid. And then now
Suddenly,
he's
yeah.
exhibiting. Well, it is very possible. It's possible because the human brain is one of the most interesting things you'd ever find. In the sense that anything at all can happen, right? There are people who start, think of dementia, for example. It's along the same lines of how can you learn so many things and then in your old age you start forgetting everything. Some people even forget where's the road to their house, or they forget how to do some basic things which they had repetitively done over the years. And so there is the possibility of that there could be a developmental decline where they actually grow to some extent and then there could be a dip. That we see it in children a lot, where children learn how to walk, and then one day they just get up and they can't walk again. It's like they forgot, and they have to, kind of do it again and learn it again. So yes, there is a possibility of that happening. You're muted.
Yeah, and then I asked
So,
you.
let's say, what are the signs of being able to notice that maybe you should seek additional help, or maybe your child may be showing signs of having um, like autistic
Autism. Hmm.
signs? Like what should
So,
we be looking for?
right. So whenever you go to the pediatrician, there are some milestones which they look out for, right?
Hmm.
So the pediatricians know that at 6 months the child should be able to do ABC.
Hmm.
At this month the child should be able to smile. At this month the child should be able to turn towards sounds, right? At this month the child should be able to respond to their name. At this month the child should be able to do this and that. So frequent pediatric visits, each time they will check for the they will check for they will check for what is to be done at a particular month, and then if
Like the
those things are missed,
developmental.
yeah, the
Um,
developmental milestones.
okay.
If there is a delay or stuff like that, your pediatrician would know, and then if there's a cause for worry, they would raise a red flag and they would tell you. And
Yeah,
also,
I
if
just
you've
want
had
to.
children
Oh,
before,
mhm.
it makes it easier if you've had children before. So if it's not your first child, then at least you have an idea of how the child should progress.
What to look for?
So
Yeah.
yes.
Mhm.
So then if you see any change compared to your previous child, then you would know and you can
Mm,
ask for help.
I agree. I was going to say that if it's okay, I was going to add that um, as a parent, even if you haven't had a child before, right? There sometimes you can just see, let's say if you have a child and okay, let me just confess. So Phoebe is the last baby, right? But I'm telling you, I can't tell you
As
how
of
many.
now.
Nanaya, please, no, I'm done. I can't tell you how many times, even till now, when she's sleeping, I literally would put my hands at her nose. Sometimes tries to, yeah, I place my hands on her chest.
After
I'm
four
just
children.
after 4 children. That's why I said, let me confess. No, but I'm saying this to say that as a parent, you need to be so curious too. There's nothing wrong with it. At least, please be inquisitive when it comes to your children and pay attention to these signs. Because if at the age of 12 months, maybe that's just my marking scheme, but 12 months, this child is not able to say maybe mama, dada, those type of things. I think as a parent, you would even want to be the one to report to the doctor, right? Because
Yeah.
but maybe you go to church, go to daycare, you see other kids or other children, so maybe that would also spike a concern, like, okay, what's happening? It's possible that maybe there's nothing wrong with your child, but at least bring it out. And for me, knowing me, trust me, I will pull and pull and pull and pull until the right thing is done. Because Nana, I know someone who in America here, they saw the signs and everything. She kept praying it out until the child got ready to go to school, and they told her, nope, the child needs to go seek help. So the child could not start school, even though it was time for the child to start school. So I think that as we are praying, I mean, we should be sensible, and I don't know how to say it, but as you're praying,
I know exactly what you're saying.
Watch and pray.
Watch
yes,
and pray.
Yes.
And then, we take the part about faith, right? And then we leave the part where the scripture says that faith without works is dead. As much as you want to believe, right, that miracle will happen, you will have to believe and also do your part, so God can do the miracle. The miracle is not going to drop from heaven. Right. As much as we want to believe, God uses people to do things. And one of those people are like our Dr. James, right? If you're praying, there's been many times that people, get sick and they go to the doctor and they don't get healed. And there's been times that people go to the doctor and they get healed, right? If you pray, you support with your faith, and you take the right action, things can happen. What we want to believe is, I don't have to do anything. I just sit down and pray, and it will happen. The chances of that happening is very low. So do your part, because you never know. You will never know. So do your part. If you're seeing signs of any developmental issues, seek help. Nobody's saying you cannot pray. Pray, but seek help. That does not make you less of a believer. That does not make you less of a Christian, Muslim, whatever your faith is. It does not make you less. So on that note, I do have a follow-up question. So is there any type of treatment, or even, let me say, cure,
Nana,
when it comes to...
Nana, before you talk about the treatment, I think it's going to tie in with this. Can I read someone's comment that came earlier and let him tie that?
Go ahead.
It says
Go
that,
ahead.
Please, before you have children, you and your partner must go for checkup to make sure your NDA don't have any genetic conditions that runs in your family. Also, if your firstborn have any disability issues from birth, you should not be having a second child and say it's the will of God. Don't bring the child to the world to suffer.
Oh.
Well, the second part is not scientifically proven. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not proven anywhere that that if your first child has a disability, your second child is going to have a disability.
Yeah.
Ecclesiastes chapter 9, verse 11. The race is not for the swift, nor the battle for the strong, but time and chance happens to all men. All right. So there is a bit of luck in all of this. You've got 23 chromosomes, and then your partner is also bringing 23 chromosomes.
Yeah.
There are times where there's a trisomy, where instead of someone having like 2 pair of chromosomes somewhere, they have 3. And there are times where a chromosome is deleted. Genetics is a very funny thing. And so, I mean, yes, there are some things which increase your chances of having children with disabilities, like incest, right? If you have children with your close relatives, your chances of bringing a child with disability is very high. And so there are those facts which are scientifically proven and genetically proven. Also, there are some chances that if you have children very late, you or your child has a higher rate of having some issues. That's also scientifically proven. However, if you run a DNA test, as you're saying, There are some things which can be detected, but there are some things which, no, it cannot necessarily actually be 100% detected. It tells you your possible chances of something happening, right? For example, if say this not even DNA, say you want to test for sickle cell disease, and then you're AS or AC, and your partner is AS or AC, you have a 25% chance of giving birth to a child with sickle cell disease. However, you still have a 75% chance of giving birth to a healthy child, which is much more higher percentage than the 25%. So then it's up to you, the parent, if you want to trust God and go ahead, or you don't want to go ahead. But whatever be the case, you should just know that you have a 1 out of 4 chance of having a child with sickle cell. I've had patients who had six children. None of them was a sickle cell patient, but both the parents were AS. Not a single child was sickle cell. They had six children. And I've seen people who also AS. They had 2 children, and all of them are sickle cell patients. And so, there's an element of chance and divine luck, if you can call it that way, in genetic stuff. There are some patients who are autistic, and then there is no genetic trace anywhere. It's not a genetic disease, okay? It's not a genetic condition. It's just a brain malformation, or it's just something which happens during the development of the kid. And so it's still not very fully understood. But that thing of saying that if you have a first child with disability, don't give birth again, it's not true. That's not true.
Wow. Let me read some comments. Clara says this is where the African faith comes in. Yes, we love a godly doctor. Who wouldn't like a godly doctor? She says do both, pray and go to the hospital too. You can be charged with neglect if you don't take the child to get the help they need. That is so true. Depending on which country you are in, even if your child did not brush their teeth for a month, social services will be knocking on social services will be knocking on your door. Clara was saying that, and I believe Nanaya sent me this video. It says a Nigerian pastor recently paid someone to marry his autistic son. That child never had any kind of therapy or whatsoever in his life. Yet he's a pastor and rich one at that. So of course, it says the education is just not out there like that in Africa or in some parts of Africa. Yeah.
And can I add something?
Mm-hmm.
So, just going back to that comment, about don't bring a child in this world to suffer, and that's one of the reason why, or part of the reason why we do this, or we're tackling this topic, is to bring awareness. Having an autistic child, it's not bringing a child into this world to suffer, right? Like Dr. James said, Einstein was autistic. Elon is autistic, right? You don't know what your child is going to be. So that should not be, we shouldn't have this
mentality
fear in us to say that, oh, my child is autistic, so that's the end of the world. They're not going to be good. They're not going to be, especially in today's environment with all the resources and all the accommodation that are being made to make sure that they everybody, even people with disorder, lives independently and be able to. I've seen, and we're having other people who are going to come on and they're going to talk more about it, so I don't want to go into it too much, but I've seen even people who cannot walk, right, in this country, for whatever reason, be given accommodation where they can get into a state where they can actually drive a car and drive themselves from places to places and be independent and live, live their life. So if you don't get anything from here, know that having a child who is autistic, it's not the end of the world. Like, it's not something that we should see it as negative, right? Like Dr. Jim said, everybody has their own personality, and they can use whatever you may think that it's not quote unquote normal, right? That's probably what's going to set them apart and get them to, because I've seen people who have been labeled autistic be one of the most smartest,
Right. Very intelligent.
right? Be one of the most smartest, and because when they concentrate, and I don't know the different, I know we have like the ADHDs and Asperger's and those things, but I don't know all of them, right? But I've seen people who, like, they concentrate on one specific thing and kind of give their all to that thing. So they are like best in that specific area because all their concentration is on that specific thing. And that's not we from where we're from. We've made it seem like this, like curse, woe be me type of thing. I can, because my child cannot do what I perceive as normal, then they are no good.
Yeah.
Let's get that mentality out. We are not educated. We're not preaching for people to be going to get tested so they won't have children who they don't perceive as normal. That's not what this conversation is about. We're educating to let our community and everyone know that there are different personalities and there are different people in this world. We just need to know how to help them to be their best self.
I agree. Thank you so much for that. Don't come in if you want to come in.
Thanks. Yeah. So there's actually less of medicine and more of a moral dilemma, right? So now let's do a bit of philosophy. You see, the whole thing of don't bring a child into this world to suffer. What if I told you that I'm going to give you a gun and I want you to go around and shoot all the homeless people on the street? Would you do that?
Mm-hmm.
But that's actually what you say when you're telling me that don't bring a child into the world to suffer. It means that you are trying to pick and choose who lives and who doesn't live. It's equivalent to you going to shoot the homeless people, saying that the homeless people don't have a quality lives and so they don't, it's a burden into society. That's immoral. When we do that, we're trying to play God, but we're humans and we have our limitations. At the end of the day, let us let God be God and let us be humans. And so let us let God do his thing and let us be mere mortals. And so if there is an autistic child, it's not because you chose to bring an autistic child into this world. I think that if the parents have a choice, no parents would intentionally choose to have an autistic child. So it's not something that people choose to do. It's something which just happens. But we are telling you, and
even if you
navigate
you deal and make it work.
Yeah. And for most marriages, I would like to think that most people want to have their children in marriages. And in that case, for most marriages, you say for better, for worse. The better is not defined. So you'd never say that, oh, this is getting so good, so I'm going to jump out. The same way, the worst is not defined. So whatever comes out of it, there's no jumping out. You have to make it work. So you learn to work around it rather than to run away from it, saying that's bringing a child into the world to suffer.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you for your time. I know it's late at your end, but you decided to stay up with us and to do this with us. We appreciate it. To everyone that tuned in, to everyone who commented, to everyone who shared. If you haven't shared yet, please just click on the share button and share it. You may never know whom this could actually bless, because they're with our community, and you guys know what I mean. this is a big deal. Where Clara just said that in the African community, if you have an autistic child, people first thing will look at you weird. They would not even want to sit next to you. Let's say if you're at a train station or at a bus stop, they would not want to sit next to you. And so I think we need more education and
Thinking that they can catch it.
you know, but that's because we lack education on some of these topics, or you know, whatever we want to call it, challenge or whatnot. And so I think that maybe we would have to do more education so that people can understand it. Gone were the days where in Ghana, if someone had HIV, yeah, even in churches, in a church, if someone's child came to sit next to an autistic child, they'll probably just, you know, give them an eye, just try to get them, you know, to get them away from that child. But it's just a difference, okay? And so we just want to do well to understand that. So if you want to share, please click the share button so that someone else can have access to it. God bless you. Dr. James, we appreciate you for coming. Do you have any last words
Thanks for
before
having
we let
me.
you go? Or you're done?
I think everything has been said.
Everything has been said. Well, thank you once again. Nanaya, thank you. Well, we see you guys all next Sunday. Okay, we are looking at autism and how the church can come into support, how the church needs to get involved. All right, then. I guess we'll have a good night. Take care, everyone.
You too.
Yo, yo, yo. Now your matter with the talk. Your life, your wahala, your breakthrough, idea. Welcome to the chat room.
This no be ordinary place.
Yo, yo, yo. Now your matter with the talk. Your life, your wahala, your breakthrough, idea. Welcome to the chat room.
This no be ordinary place. Now a solution they show face. LadyMary they lead the way. With guests we go blow your brain. Talk your matter make we solve 'em. No judgment, just love and wisdom. We they discuss, we they learn. Every episode you gon' feel the burn. Oh, the chat room. Now here we they find a way. Oh, the chat room.
Oh, yes.
We go talk and clear, no delay. Oh, it's interactive, educative, informative, and unapologetic. Oh, the chat room. We on